What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday over here, Pacific Standard Time in the morning. It's going to be a very interesting week and day coming up for Bitcoin because, first of all, the markets are going to open. The stock market's going to open afternoon Pacific Standard Time, and that is usually a front-running signal for Bitcoin because the stock market has a very high correlation with Bitcoin, and of course, that is the driver of the crypto markets. If Bitcoin pumps, you can expect the altcoins to be pumping, and if Bitcoin dumps, you can expect the altcoins to do very similar things with Bitcoin. So stock market opens in a couple of hours. It's going to be very interesting to see what that does. Okay. We're going to be going over some news for the crypto markets, and we're going to be taking a look into a few altcoins, namely MOG coin. See what has gone on in this market since the last time we've checked it out. Verasity, which is VRA. Also going to be taking a look into TARS AI and see what has gone on in this market. It is a fairly new market, so gonna see if there's anything exciting going on with TARS AI in the short term. Now, if you guys are new to this channel, you guys should know that I dive deep into the charts every day to look for moves before they actually happen. Because let's face it, that's a lot lower risk than chasing pumps on the day of. If you guys actually chase pumps on the day of, let me know how that works out in the comment section below. I can tell you from first-hand experience that I've been there and done that. I much rather take the lower risk approach. And if you guys have any technical analysis requests for any coins in this markets, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe, letting me know what you guys want to see. I would choose one we request every day and do it for you guys here. And of course, you guys want to subscribe to this channel as well, because if you guys want to learn technical analysis and how to look at charts to see this market much more clearly for yourself, yep, this is the channel to do it. Now let's go ahead and go to some Bitcoin news here before we dive into the charts, okay? Now, we do have a few recent headlines. This is by News BTC. I'm going to give you guys my instant reaction here. Bitcoin leverage traders are back betting on a price decline. What this means? Well, just by looking at the headline here, I'm just gonna tell you guys that I am very long in this market right now. I have a bunch of longs in altcoins, in Bitcoin, in Ethereum, and my opinion on this market is bullish. But of course, that's just my opinion and speculations. None of which is going to be financial advice, of course. And none of what I'm saying in this video is financial advice. But what I'm seeing here is, yeah, I mean, I think it's still a good a place for leverage short sellers to be shorting here, because you're at the last resistance here for the short sellers, for the bears, and that's basically the previous all-time high at about 110k to about 112k area, right? If I was looking to hedge my long positions, I could potentially short at 112k and get a short-term payout, right? Because the reasoning would be, if I already have a bunch of longs and I'm just hedging my longs by opening a short position at about 112k, 110k range, if that short position gets liquidated, the net increase in my long values will overcompensate, right? That would be my logic if I was to hedge my position. I could look into hedging my position. I am considering that as well, right? But that is just me personally. But yeah, I mean, I think it's still when it's still probably a good bet, right, for some short sellers to place a short order at about that range, right? Because for buyers, it's to buy high, buy low, and sell high. Excuse me, buy low and sell high, right? But for short sellers, it's to sell high and buy low, right? So I mean, I for this headline here, I think it makes sense that short sellers are looking at a potential bet. But without getting into the details of what this article really says, that is just my first take here. Okay. Now this is by Crypto Potato. Bitcoin at the brink, double top or 150K moonshot. What's next? Okay. So this I know what what it's talking about, right? So we're gonna get into the charts. I think it's talking about the daily time frame, right? Where there could be a potential double top, but there is also a cup and handle pattern, which I will show you guys later on the weekly time frame, where the price target of that would be about 145K. All right, next article. This is by Cointelegraph. Bitcoin can liquidate $15 billion in shorts with a 10% BTC price uptick data. Okay. I'm not really sure what it's talking about. It could potentially mean that there are quite a bit of shorts that are stacked between where Bitcoin is right now and the all-time high at about 112K. And of course, I mean, I'm just guessing that if Bitcoin uh basically breaks 112K, that could liquidate these shorts. Next, this is by Coin Potato. Bitcoin price analysis failure to reclaim these levels can result in a sub 100K correction. The next level I'm really looking at is about 107K, right? Which is not too far off from the previous all-time high at about 112K. So these are the two key levels I am looking at and what I am seeing as the bears' last defenses. Okay. 107K, which is the daily 21 SMA, right? And then the next key level, of course, is the previous all-time high at about 112K. Yeah, if you get rejected at these levels, it could correct further down. But I think it's going to be a very key time to be paying attention to Bitcoin right now. All right, let's come back here to the charts. Okay, we're going to take a look into the stock market, which is ES1 exclamation mark, S&P 500 futures that opens in a couple of hours here in Pacific Standard Time. And we have a weekly candle close here. Okay, we had a weekly candle close here with bearish divergence. Okay, so that is usually indicative of a reversal, which is not good. Another bearish pattern here for the stock market here is going to be this rising wedge. Okay, that's probably more seen on the lower time frames. Breakdown target is going to be about 57, just right above 5,700 here. That could be catastrophic, right, for the stock market and of course for the crypto markets. However, if the stock market is actually able to manage to pull through and break above this rising wedge pattern, I would expect some very strong bullish price action coming for crypto, because that would be very bullish to break out of a usually bearish pattern. Now, some support could be coming up for stock market, which includes the daily 21 SMA and the daily 200 SMA. Some bearish divergence is apparent as well. Okay, on this, actually, no. Yeah, I'm gonna say no on the daily time frame here. Now let's go ahead and move on to Ethereum. Ethereum, I talked about this yesterday. It did break down from a possible cup and handle setup, so that is not good. But right now, I don't see a particular chart that is forming in Ethereum. So I'm gonna bring you guys an update to this market when there is a more developed pattern. But right now, it is still trying to get above the daily 200 SMA, which is at about 20, just right up below 2,700. But if Bitcoin is able to stay above its daily 200 SMA, I don't see why Ethereum would not be able to catch up. Total 3, which is altcoin market excluding Ethereum. Okay, this looks more like well, it has actually broken out of a falling wedge pattern, looking very much like Bitcoin. Um, and the price target out of this pattern here is going to be about 925 billion for total 3, which could still be could still make some pretty significant moves for some of these smaller altcoins. Now let's take a look into TARS AI first and see what's going on in this market. The symbol is TAI USDT. This is a smaller altcoin, and it could be riskier to be in this market. The rank is below 400. Market cap is about 60 million last time I checked. So it's definitely a riskier altcoin. Something I would consider if the setup looks right, and that I would consider trading, right? But let's take a look into seeing what this market could be doing. Okay, this market is fairly new. It just came into existence according to this chart here in about on April 7th. Okay, there was quite a bit of reversal signals here, especially on this daily time frame where we had a higher high on the price action chart, but a lower high on the RSI, and that's classic bearish divergence, which pulled back as usual. Okay, and it has formed a falling wedge since then. Okay, falling wedges typically break to the upside, and if this one does, by this point, just estimating, the price target would be about just right above 16 cents here for TARS AI, which is still a pretty significant move on the smaller time frame. Okay, now on a higher time frame, that's coming back to the daily time frame here. It could form some type of cup and handle here if it comes back to retest this resistance at about 15 cents. And if that does happen, we'll come back here and update the chart and see if we can get a updated price target. But right now, it is still possibly developing. It's not established. Some I think some signs to look for to see if this cup and handle pattern might not be happening is, first of all, if the price action breaks down from this falling wedge pattern, which is usually that's not good, and if it breaks down below the daily 50 SMA, currently coming up to the price right now, but currently at about 9.7 cents, then we can come back and take a look and see what else could be happening. Okay, what other scenarios are. Let's take a look into Verasity, VRA, see what has gone on since the last time. Okay, weekly time frame. Talked about this possible falling wedge pattern. I mean, it is a validated falling wedge pattern. Price target, if it breaks out by this point, is going to be about 1.6 cents Veracity, which is still pretty big, right? Now, price targets are only estimates. It could be more, it could be less, okay? And there could be fake outs and there could be breakdowns. Just gonna account for these scenarios in the market because nothing in the market is a given. Everything is by chance. And you just gotta gauge what the chances of something happening is, okay? All right, let's come over here to, excuse me, let's stay on Veracity for 1 second. All right, 4-hour time frame. Let's talk about this example here. I talked about this falling wedge pattern on this 4-hour time frame. Basically broke out of it, but it was a fake out, so price action went immediately back into the pattern. That is still that's a very possible scenario, fake outs, right? But however, on the daily time frame here, where I think that this is the highest time frame where this falling wedge is still valid, right? Because we still have a validated falling wedge pattern here on the daily time frame. And this was a fake out. However, this pattern is still valid. right? And we do have a, let's take a updated measure targets. If it breaks out by this point, the updated measure target would be about 0.23 cents for VRA. Now, let's go ahead and go to MOG coin and see what has gone on here. Weekly time frame. This is still valid. Price target hasn't changed. It's going to give you a bunch of zeros and 2, 4, 5 about. That's the weekly. So quite a bit of a, that's still a pretty big price target for a bigger altcoin like this. Okay. Zooming in onto the daily time frame, that is kind of what I do. If I want to see if the price action is still trying to reach its price target, is I zoom in and see and chart what's going on the lower time frame. In this case, daily time frame, falling wedge pattern, price target is gonna be about, I think that's 5 zeros and 1 2, okay, for MOG coin. And that is about I think that's about almost a third in price change increase if this price target is met. It is still trying to get above some daily time frame resistances, moving averages, daily 50 SMA immediate resistance, daily 21 SMA, the blue line here, next level of resistance, and of course the daily 200 is the orange line here on my chart. That is above the price target right now. So that's basically what I'm looking at for some of these altcoins, the crypto markets, Bitcoin, and the stock market in general. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you guys want to see any particular coins. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.